Hey, this is Todd. On Friday, I streamed a look at the Wendy's promo RPG rules. I think I was streaming right about the time the entire firestorm blew up on Twitter and I suppose elsewhere in the internet world on Critical Role and their involvement with promoting the Wendy's promo RPG rules and the exposure, at least to me, of what I would say is Wendy's as a, I guess to use a phrase from a different arena, a bad actor as a corporation. I was unaware of all this when I was recording the stream. I don't eat at Wendy's. I don't think I've eaten at Wendy's in years and years. I was totally unaware of it. But of course, like, what happens to let you in a little bit behind the curtain as a content creator, particularly one who's very low on the totem pole and just trying to get established like myself, is when you see things, trends coming into the scene, stuff like this Wendy's promo rules, the tendency is you want to jump on it, right? And I'm sure you've seen this from other people if you follow them. The Avernus rules drops, which I will hopefully have this week so I can take a look at. And of course, you start seeing lots of content about Avernus. So when the Wendy's stuff dropped, kind of caught people's attention. And so you see lots of things dropping about that. And I wanted to jump on that bandwagon because part of what I'm trying to do is to build following, get eyeballs on my material, which I hope since you're watching this that you enjoy. And so part of that is trying to hit the trends. I'm not too good at it actually, and I don't try too hard, but try to hit the trends as they're coming. And part of that was looking at the Wendy's rules and wanting to, strike with that hammer while it's hot, so to speak. Obviously, Critical Role got a lot of attention negatively, at least at first, because they agreed to run a one shot and so became sort of part of the marketing effort. And people began posting about all the awful things that Wendy's has done in their supply chain and different ways they've handled it. Reading some of that stuff, it's not good and it's not something I really want to be associated with. And I think the main weapon we have as a consumer in a capitalist world is to, you vote with your dollars, right? We support something, we talk about it, we give them the free advertising, we talk about it amongst our friends, and we spend our money there. And other currencies we have. In this case, it's the currency of spreading word about their products. And so on the flip side of that, if a company does something we don't agree with, we have that same power to either negatively talk about it to try to drive away from it, or we don't spend our dollars there. Obviously, Wendy's was not paying me any money or anything. I just went like anybody else and downloaded their rules from their website to run it. But again, having read the things that they've done, the exposés written about them, it's not something that I feel like I want to promote. There's plenty of other indie games, small games, free games, RPGs that are much more worthy of your attention than something put together by a marketing team at Wendy's to create awareness about their 4 for $4 grid menu special or their spicy chicken sandwich. I did record the stream and I am uploading this video. I did record the stream. And after this follows, if you want, you can watch whereas I go through, I think, about the first half of the rules, including characters and character powers and sort of their basic rules. I didn't get a chance to go into the maybe more dungeon mastery section of their rulebook because I just ran out of time at that point and I hadn't seen anything yet. But now, having seen everything, I probably won't go back and do that again. There are many other things I would rather support and put my time and effort behind showing attention to than what they did. It was essentially something I did, just because, hey, it's there and it's hot. But, it's not something that I want to, at this point, support in any way. But if you want to save your clicks from going to Wendy's and you were curious about at least what some of the rules look like, you can watch that video that will follow this. And you can see a lot of, I go over a lot of what they seem to be doing as far as the rules that they've brought in and how they structure their character classes. It might be something you could take away from your game. If you might see something, if it seems like it was a fairly, I guess if I give my capsule review having read through it because I didn't really get a chance to summarize my other video, I would say that it's an interesting mix of streamlining, but with some of the same complexities as your bog standard kind of D&D fantasy RPG, which is a little bit interesting that they seem to keep some of the complex stuff that I'm not sure they needed to, but they did streamline some other things. I wonder if it had been a real RPG company and not an advertising kind of promo, if another couple of passes through would have benefited it as a product as far as looking at other things that they could streamline. I think I know I mentioned in the video things like initiative and distances they don't streamline, which is a little bit strange given how streamlined other things are. And I even noticed there's definitely some copywriting issues. They seem to use the word class and then I think order kind of interchangeably, and they don't explain that those are the same things. And I think that's probably due to just not having enough attention to go through and give it another editing pass to make sure that they've got their excuse me, all their verbiage. It probably was written as class all the way through, and maybe they went to then change it to order and they just forgot to in several places, or maybe that was it. Maybe it's something else. Not sure. Anyhow, ultimately, is it worth downloading it? If you don't care about any of the social stuff, you don't care that they don't seem to be a good corporation, and you want to download, is it worth your download despite all that? I would say no. The classes are interesting, but just in kind of like a look how they've made spicy chicken sandwich into a class. Somebody actually commented on my other video that it reminded them of like an Aqua Teen Hunger Force type RPG, which would be amazing. But it is too much of a they don't take enough liberties to have so much fun with it. It really is more like marketing stuff. I mean, the powers are cute, and they have cute names, and they try to tie them into food and Wendy's. It's okay. I mean, there might be something you can glean from it, but I would say, all things being equal, there's many more deserving RPGs, free or pay a couple of bucks, that are worthy of your attention. But again, if you're curious, here comes the rest of the video. I'll talk to you on the flip side. I had released this RPG product called Feast of Legends. I guess it's part of a promo they're running. I saw that, I haven't watched it yet, but Critical Role, I guess, did a one-shot using these rules. I downloaded it last night, and I thought I wanted to kind of read through it. I'm interested in anything that where you see the kind of industry or RPG sort of as a hobby just growing in popularity to the point where something like Wendy's wants to use the space to advertise themselves. So they're just on that level. And, I just thought I'd give it a shot. So I downloaded it last night, thought, well, let me read it. And then I thought, well, let me read it, and I might as well. I haven't streamed anything in quite a while, which I apologize for. Just things are getting hairy. Still working on getting over a cough, which kind of slowed me down as well, and had a couple of trips and things. But I thought, yeah, let me go through this and go through it. And if you're interested, pull out your copy and read along. Otherwise, we can just see on the screen a little copy of it. It's free. You can go to Wendy's, or I think if you're on any of the social media regarding D&D stuff, it's been linked all over the place. I linked it from my Twitter, Hex Pressman. It's in a bunch of places, so I'm sure it'll be easy to get a hold of. So here, just looking at the cover, the art looks nice, very fantasy appropriate. I love the name Feast of Legends. It makes it sound like some kind of 80s hair metal cover band album cover. I can just imagine, Halloween or Europe screaming about Feast of Legends. Ooh, excuse me. And it's subtitled Rise from the Deep Freeze. So I imagine, at least my first impulse is this is somehow going to mix in with the fact of what they don't use frozen meat in their hamburgers or some. I'm going to sense there's some kind of theme going on with that. But whatever, I haven't looked inside yet. It says it has a rulebook and campaign. So let's get a look. I only have about an hour or so to do this, so I'm hoping I can get through it as my cat comes to check out what I'm doing. Maybe attracted by my ultrasonic song. What are you doing, Betty? All right, hang out. So let's go. All right, there's Wendy. All right, Feast of Legends player guide. Again, I really like the art. The fight against frozen beef. Okay, well, there's one question answered. It's fairly obvious. Queen Wendy, first of her name, breaker of fast food chains. Okay, so there's definitely a Game of Thrones, little parody action going on. Defender of all things fresh, never frozen. The clapback queen has been the ruler of Freshtovia since 1969. Defends the realm from the treacherous evils of those who practice the dark art of frozen beef. All right. Welcome to Feast of Legends. Intro to the world. You are adventurers in the realm of Beef's Keep. Nice. Where the nations have been splintered over major disagreements and how to treat the realm's people. Creeping Vale and the United Clown Nation. All right. have led their people into a collective darkness known as the Deep Freeze. While the world currently feels like a cold and desolate place, you reside in the one nation that remains a true beacon of hope, Freshtovia. Freshtovia is known for its lush fields, signature dishes. Red-headed queen, Queen Wendy. As queen of Freshtovia, Wendy has clapped back at all attacks on her borders. She is strong and has maintained her nation's integrity despite the growing pressure of the other nations. All right. And then a little subtext here. If you've played a tabletop role-playing game before, you'll find yourself quite comfortable with our setting and rules of the adventure you are about to embark on. This is your first time in the tabletop RPG world. Welcome. Let's explain a little about the type of game you'll be playing. A role-playing game is exactly that. Players play the role of the character they create. One person will play the role of the game master, GM. In parentheses, the GM will drive the narrative, playing out the situations of all non-player characters you encounter and ensuring the experience is fun and challenging for all players. After you create your character, you'll be put into a world where you make the decisions at every turn. The only limit is your imagination. All right, so it's the fairly standard RPG boilerplate, but certainly great. Nothing wrong with it. Here we have the realm of Beef's Keep. I would have maybe appreciated hexes on there, but I'm a hex guy, as if you've watched any of my other videos, you might see. So we've got Bottom Bun Mountains, and clearly this landmass is shaped like a hamburger, which is funny. There's the Deep Freeze. All right, nation. Okay, Freshtovia is over there and sort of on one side. The box. Lake John Silver. All right, that's funny. Top Bun Mountains. Okay. All right. So a fairly nice map. Like I said, I would have maybe liked hexes just for practical use, but that might have obfuscated a little bit the image they're going for, which is the fact that you're playing in a hamburger-shaped continent. All right, contents. Okay, I'm not going to read everything in here, obviously, because that will take way more than hours. I just wanted to... The boilerplate I thought was interesting, and always... I find it interesting to see how people want to frame RPG, and certainly this one's interesting because I imagine that they're hoping to ensnare people, not just role-playing game people already, though I think that's maybe who they're mainly marketing to, but obviously they have other prospective customers who will happen upon it, so you want to give it a background for everybody. Let's see, I do want to see what their stats are. Let's see. Okay, when you begin creating your character, you'll first determine their stats. All right. Order. Choosing your order will determine what your character's specialties are. Okay, so that's their version of class. They're calling it an order. As you journey through the realm of Beef's Keep. Okay. Here's where you get to decide exactly how you would like to play. Okay, magic or brawl. Okay, well, we'll look at orders. Let's see what their stats are. All right, 5 main stats. Strength. Strength stat will encompass your character's physical and mental strength. Okay, that's interesting. And so they have an intelligence chat, but they're saying that mental strength. So I guess this is kind of physical strength and mental. It's going to be interesting because they've got some other things. But all right, we'll just read through them. So physical and mental strength. Roll a die against your strength for things like physical strikes in a fight, carrying or moving an item, and whether your character's mental state is affected by emotion or other external variables. Heat, poisoning, confusion. So it's really interesting because it's definitely a mix of the classic, D&D style strength with something like mixing in some wisdom, what we would traditionally have put to wisdom or intelligence, maybe, and even charisma. Probably mostly wisdom and intelligence, but they have an intelligence stat. So let's see how that one's different. Intelligence. The intelligence stat directly affects how your character's smarts will change a situation. A low intelligence will likely make it more difficult for your character to solve puzzles. High intelligence will make your character a fast learner, helping them guide your team to victory. So right off the bat, this is interesting because it's definitely making a statement that puzzles are going to be at least have the potential to be solved through intelligence checks. I mean, we'll have to see how it plays out. I'm not generally a fan of, if I'm going to have a puzzle in the game that I want players to solve in some way, I want them to solve it. I don't want it to be roll the dice and my character's going to tell me how to get across the chasm. Like the puzzle is you have to figure out how to get across the chasm. But puzzle can mean a lot of different things, and there are definitely puzzles in games like read this old language and figure out the pattern that's going to do that. And maybe that's the kind of puzzle they're referring to. That would be one of, well, I'm going to let my character's intelligence do that. So we'll see how that goes. But it's interesting that they have that separate from things like your mental state. That you would not roll against intelligence if heat is befuddling you. You would roll against your strength. So that's kind of an interesting way that they've just shifted the demarcation between those. But let's see what else they have. So below intelligence is charm. The charm stat is your personality. Are you welcoming, or do people find you a bit repulsive? The die will always decide, but a good charm stat will be key to your best interactions with the characters in your world. Okay, so charm is charisma. Essentially, I kind of like charm as where in D&D we think of charm as the spell, so maybe we wouldn't use it as a tribute name. But I think that's a good, because I think it fits more. People get caught up in charisma having to be some kind of physical beauty, which it really isn't. It's really more your power of personality. You can be somebody hulking and intimidating, and that is also charisma as much as someone who's very physically attractive and demure and everything. So charm, I think, kind of pulls out a little bit more, since it suggests beyond just what your physical looks are. We have Arcana. The Arcana stat is your connection to the magical realms within the world. If you are a Magic's user, a good Arcana stat is a must. Recognizing the magical abilities of other characters or items is also tied to your Arcana stat. Okay, so Arcana is magic, so they've split out the kind of magic part of intelligence with the more intelligence part of intelligence. Grace. All right, this is an interesting one. Grace. The grace stat is tied to the acrobatic movements of your character, or the lack thereof. Those with a higher grace stat will be better with certain weapons and will have an advantage while jumping, running, or dodging attacks. Okay, that's your dexterity. They call it grace. Interesting. Just because grace, again, has connotations maybe beyond what we would think of as dexterity. But I like it. All right, so their stats are between 1 and 16. And to roll, you're going to roll 4 d4s, okay? And add up the total of your rolls, and that number will be one of your stats. So they're not doing any kind of drops. It's just 4d4. And the average of 4d4, what is 2.5, 5? So the average is 10. So you should end up mostly on the higher side of 1 and 16, right? Because the average of 1d4 is 2.5, 2d4 would be 5, then 4d4 would be 10. So you're getting a 10 average, and the max is only 16, but your minimum, again, is 4, so you can't quite go as low as, say, 3d6, but you're not rolling an extra die and dropping it. You're going to do this 5 times, okay? Okay, now you're not going down the line. They say make sure you roll all 5 numbers before choosing which stat to apply them to. Okay, so they're letting you choose where you're putting things. The order you choose for your character will help determine which stat you should apply your best numbers to. Yeah, makes sense. All right, if you're a magic user, yeah. All right. Depending on your stats, you will gain specific bonuses. Okay, here are the bonuses and penalties. So 1 to 4 is -2. Okay. So their spread is -2 to +4. And I notice they haven't mentioned anything about your species. I don't really like race, your species. So I wonder if they don't have it and we're all assumed to be human types, or maybe they just haven't mentioned it yet. And they also here have a little box at the bottom saying that they have a dice roller online if you want to use that instead of using physical dice. Interesting that they chose D4s, because it's not a common die type, right? I mean, anybody who's got role-playing games has got D4s, okay? But if you were someone who picked this up at I don't know if they're printing these out in Wendy's. I think I saw mentioned, I'm not going to New York Comic Con this year. I think that they said they have them there. And those, people at Comic Con are probably going to have D4s, but a lot of ordinary folk, you're going to have D6s coming out of your ears if you have any board games at all, classic board games like Monopoly or whatever. You've probably got a bunch of D6s lying around. D4s is a specialty die. So it's interesting that they went with the D4. Maybe it gives them the mechanical effect that they want, as opposed to D6s or even D10s, which are just kind of easier to come by, I think, if you're not in the hobby. So interesting decision. But, it's not good or not bad, just interesting. Okay. Roll bonuses based on stats. Roll 1 total, roll 2 total, roll 3 total, roll 4 total. Yeah, roll 5 total. Roll bonus equals 5. Well, I'm not quite sure. Example, roll. Roll 1. Okay, 9 plus 1. Do you add plus 1? Why do you do that? Roll bonus 10. Roll 13 plus 2. Okay, I don't know what that means. Okay, I don't know what that example rule means. It's confusing me. And it probably shouldn't. Roll 1 total plus 9 plus equals 9 plus 1. What am I rolling? Okay, maybe it's just subtract. Oh, okay. I think they're trying to tell you about your bonuses, but that's confusing. They should have probably saved that for when they're actually talking about what you're rolling. Roll 1 total equals 9 plus 1. Like, at least tell me that you're saying that, okay, I have a, I don't know what that means. Like, roll bonus 10. I think they're trying to say that if my roll bonus or if my attribute is 9, then my bonus is 1. So roll bonus equals 10. Obviously, it's 9 plus 1, but that's a little bit different than D&D. D&D wouldn't tell you if you're 18 and you have a bonus of plus 4 that now you're 22. Like, I don't know. That's a weird kind of way to do it. But let's move on. I don't want to get bogged down here. All right. Defense. Your defense will determine how resilient your character is in battle. While still a statistic, it doesn't affect gameplay in the same way. Okay? I just want to switch. I don't really have... I got to figure out how to get chat open. I'm not good at keeping this stuff. Alright, so nobody's... Okay. Nothing going on. I just switch back. Just thought I would check just in case. Okay. Defense. While still a statistic, it doesn't affect gameplay the same way. This is the number an enemy must roll for their attack to hit you. The number will change based on character class. Interesting. Is that a typo? Or an editing miss thing? Because they were calling them... What were they calling them just before? Whoops. Order. I think character class, that's your order. So that may be a little oopsie on... going from character class to order, unless order means something else, which it might, because we haven't gotten there yet. And added armor. Okay, for now, leave this blank until you choose your class. In the class description, you will be given the number to fill in your base defense. Okay. Hit points. Hit points are the amount of health your character has. Okay, so obviously this tells us that's using a hit point system. For your character's first level, all right, roll 4d4s. That's right, 4 for $4. Bum, bum, bum. The result will be your starting hit points. All right, so they don't max you out. So, again, minimum 4, max of 16. Each time your character levels up, roll 2d4s and add plus 4 for an additional 6 to 12 hit points. Okay. That's a nice, I guess 6 becomes the new, I guess you're not going to be, you're not going to just be rolling 1s. So they're giving you a little bit of extra. I mean, I have no idea how the enemies thing scales, but it seems like at least compared to kind of vanilla, a lot of other vanilla kind of role-playing games, you get a little extra bump there. Plus 4, that would be... Normally, that would be tied to your Constitution bonus, but here they're just giving you a flat plus 4. Well, that's nice. But maybe it's accounted for and it means nothing, but, we'll see. Resistance/weakness. If your character has a resistance to something, they will take half the damage they normally would. Likewise, if they have a weakness, they will take double the damage. This also applies to the foes you encounter on your journey. A skill, item, armor, or weapon will tell you if you develop a resistance or weakness to a certain type of damage. All right. Interesting. Aha. Okay, so advantage and disadvantage, which is, I have to admit, is a really great, if I don't know if 5th edition innovated this completely. I don't know if other games had it, but it's a really nice system. I think, I complain at times that I wish it was a little more able to be fine-tuned, because it's just a flat +5, -5, and there's no way to sort of stack them that I think I miss sometimes. But overall, it's such an easy system for games where you're trying to attract beginner players that don't want to do a lot of math. I was reading on Facebook, somebody was looking at some 2nd edition stuff that they wanted to convert over. They found it in their husband's back of his closet or somewhere, and they were looking at it, and you look at all the bonuses, and they were just confused and befuddled as to what to do with all that. And someone just say, hey, look, just convert it to advantage and disadvantage. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more swingy, but it's just so easy. If you see minus numbers, give them disadvantage. See positive numbers, give them advantage. Bang, boom, done. Okay, what do they say about it? And let's see if theirs is the same. I imagine it probably is. Certain situations in the game will put your character at either an advantage or a disadvantage. If you are at an advantage, you will roll your d20. All right, so they're using d20s twice, using the larger of the two numbers. If you are at disadvantage, you will also roll your d20 twice, but you will use the smaller of the two numbers. All right, so it's just flat disadvantage. And now we know they're using d20s. Kind of interesting that they don't... I thought might be one where they might go through and say, here are all the dice we're using, what they look like, and what we're going to call them, but they didn't do that, which I guess indicates more that this seems to me they're more targeting straight to RPG people who they're pretty confident know what a d20 is. Even saying a 20-sided die, if I asked my wife or some of her friends, hey, do you know what 20-sided die is? They wouldn't have any... It would barely register more than a d20 other than they would know we're talking about dice. For someone who doesn't know anything, a picture would really help do that, but they're not doing that, so obviously it's another indication that they're really targeting this very much at RPGers and maybe not so much at others. Skills. Okay, each class has a list of starting skills as well as the skills they will gain as they level up. All right, so we got skills. There's no limit to the number of times you can use your skills in battle. They simply take the action phase of your turn. All right, so we're learning a little bit here. Action phase. They got some... Must be how they're going to break up your combat. I'm guessing there's going to be a movement phase, an action phase, and maybe some kind of free sort of extra little, things like picking up stuff or dropping stuff or doing other things phase, but I guess we'll see. Passive skills mean you do not have to use your action for the skill to be active. They're always active in specific situations. Okay. Many skills will be played in the same way as an attack action. All right. The GM will let you know if the enemy must make a save. So they got saves. The enemy... another thing, I just interrupting myself here. No character sheet yet. Interesting. So they're just kind of throwing out these terms that they haven't really showed before. I don't know. It kind of comes down to how you like your rules. A lot of times I like to see things defined before you throw it out. And so they haven't mentioned saves and they just kind of throw it in there. Saves. They just sort of throw in attack actions, but they haven't talked about attack actions yet. So interesting, just the way it's written. Not good, not bad. Okay. All right. So we now know there's saving throws. We know there's some kind of attack phase or attack action. Let's see. Items you are skilled with. If your class is skilled with an item you are using to attack, you will add +1 bonus to your attack roll. Okay. So kind of a little proficiency, but it's a small proficiency. And here we have a little boxed area, starting loadout. Let's see. Basic weapon or 2, if the order you choose permits it. So here there's a little bit of confusion because they're mixing order and class. And they haven't straight up said order is a class. They've defined it, and if we know things from RPGs, we know that what they define an order as is what we would say a class is, but they haven't actually told us that order and class are synonymous in this thing. And I wonder, again, if this is not a copy editing issue in which people maybe they had class, and then they decided to change it to order, and they just didn't fix it everywhere, or what the deal is. Or maybe, again, they're two different things, so it seems weird because they seem to be, in the context they're being used so far, they occupy the same space. So it kind of strange. But we'll just keep going until they define it. And again, because they haven't defined it, they've defined order before they've used it, which is good in my book. But they haven't defined class. They're just kind of throwing it out there, which again leads me to think that class and order are the same, but we can't tell yet. Okay. If you can hold a shield, you may start with a shield. All right. Basic shield. You'll start with a basic outfit. Okay. Which can include clothing or armor that matches your character skills. All right. Any other basic tools or items that make sense for your character to carry must be listed on your character sheet and approved by the GM before start of gameplay. Each character will also start out with 10 gold coins. All right, so there's the currency, and then they go into money, which I don't really need to go into, and what you look like. Writing down a physical description of your character will help you and your party members be fully immersed in the experience. Yeah. Oh, and don't forget to give your new hero a super dope name. Yeah, super dope. Okay. All right, gameplay. Battles. When the party is about to enter a battle, everyone will roll d20. All right, so there's initiative. Placement in the battle's turn order. So you have initiative. GM rolls for your opponents. Character rolled highest goes first. And then go into setting. Okay, so simple D&D style vanilla initiative. Maybe interesting that they didn't go for anything more, I don't know, fun or different, or try, use kind of popcorn initiative or anything like that. But of course, I know a lot of, there's love-hate with sort of vanilla initiative, but it does work and it's easy. I kind of wonder for something like this whether it would have been easier just to have all the party and then all the opposition as opposed to doing one after another. I mean, I like the individual ones because you get more of a tactical feel, but is this the game where I'm really concerned about tactical feel? Maybe not, but that's a choice they made. And of course, if we so choose, we could always insert our own initiative design. Turns. Each character's turn will consist of completing a movement, taking an action, and doing one eligible extra action. So yeah, so you have a movement and some kind of action and then a little something extra. Action. You can take one action. An action would be an attack, use of a skill, attempting an action separate from attacking, such as lifting an object. Your action is only limited by your character's ability and your imagination, and the rules your GM decides to enforce. Okay. Pretty easy standards. Here we have attack. If you choose to make a physical attack, you must first choose an opponent within the proper range. They haven't actually talked about range. I'm curious whether they're going to do hardcore, like squares or feet or inches or whatever, or if they're going to use kind of the looser but more, I guess, kind of casual. But I think it works for theater of the mind stuff, like, just having immediate and then, medium distance and then far away kind of thing. I think Shadow of the Demon Lord uses that, and I know other games do too. And for something like this, it might be useful, but I'll be curious how they do it, because they obviously have now stated that there is range, as opposed to just saying you got to be up next to somebody, which is, seems to be a little bit more flexible. Because saying range, I immediately think you're going to measure things, where if you just say you're up next to somebody, that's something that can just depend on your fictional positioning and doesn't necessarily have to bring out the rulers. But like I said, we'll see what they got to say about it. If the number you roll is higher than your enemy's defense, your attack is successful, and you'll roll the dice indicated on each weapon's attack description. For easy access, it is best to write down those numbers on your character sheet next to the weapons you are carrying. All right, so again, standard stuff going on. Ooh, feast mode. All right. Oh, this must be their critical. All right. If you roll a 20 on an attack or skill roll, you go into feast mode. You do the maximum amount of attack damage plus an additional roll of the normal attack dice. Okay, so you're going to get max damage and then another dice roll. All right. You also get advantage on your next roll, making you go into feast mode again, even more likely. Going into feast mode can completely change the tide of a confrontation. All right. I'll say what I like about this. So you got the essential critical thing, which is, all right, that's cool. The idea that then you get advantage on the next one, so that you could, theoretically, I think the odds are probably still not in your favor of chaining together feast modes, but it can be very fun, exciting, almost an arcade kind of feel of somebody just getting super lucky and rolling a couple of 20s in a row and just being able to kind of keep this whirlwind. I almost wonder if it would be cool if you could do more things with that. Like, could I go into feast mode and then throw my feast mode advantage onto another party member to hopefully get them going? Interesting thing, but it's cool. I like it. It's, it's standard, but they added a little bit of their own flavor to it. So that's good. And now we have the critical miss. They're calling it the big oops. Rolling a 1 during battle will result in a big oops. Perhaps even the bigger of oops, the biggest of oopses. You will completely miss your attack, and in certain cases may even hurt yourself or your teammates. All right, interesting. Likewise, rolling a 1 on a skill or stat check will result in your character's worst possible outcome in their current situation. So now I will say I like this simply because it tells you exactly what happens on a miss, which is the worst possible outcome in your current situation. This means as a GM, we're trying to figure out what happens on a miss. I have been given clear guidance that I should find the worst possible outcome. In fact, I could even get the whole party together as a group to come up and say, hey, what is the worst possible outcome we could get here, and do that, right? And it takes the heat off of me, because then there's less of that discussion of, oh, you're jamming me up, or oh, my DM stinks because he screwed me on a natural one. It's like, here it's telling you, by the rules as written, I'm supposed to find the worst possible thing that happened to you in that circumstance and do that. Now, that could still be, obviously still open to interpretation, and obviously someone could say, if you swing and a miss on a sword, the worst possible thing is you impale yourself in your heart. Okay, that's stupid. And you could maybe argue that in just some kind of random universe where there's no limits on anything, or including physics, that might work. But, if we keep it in context of everything, I think it's good to have the guidance, not just say you miss, but say like, hey, this is how you're supposed, this is what the miss means, and this is the guidance you have, and it sort of takes the responsibility off me as a GM of feeling bad if I go after that. It takes the heat off. Hey, I can have fun trying to find the worst possible thing because that's what's in the rules. And everybody knows that up front. We all read this. We've seen it. We know. We roll a 1. Oh, gosh. And then, again, you can make it fun. Have the whole table talk about what that worst possible thing is. So I do like that. But it's, other than that, it's just a critical. And I notice that unlike the feast mode, it does not carry over. You don't get disadvantage on your next one. So you get a bigger, they're not exactly like people get caught up in D&D about how natural 20s and natural 1s have to be exactly the same balance. This is obviously balanced more towards your successes than your critical successes than your critical failures, which is all good in my book. All right, movement. Here we go. With each turn, your character can move up to 25 feet. All right. Not quite 30 feet like seems to be average in most places, but 25 feet is fine. Each square on the table represents 5 feet of movement. Okay, so they're kind of assuming minis there. If you choose not to take an action, you could sprint instead, moving up to 50 feet in one turn. If you're directly adjacent to an enemy, you can use Breakout as your action before moving up to 25 feet away. If you do not choose Breakout the enemy, you could take a cheap shot as you attempt to run away. All right, so right there, they've basically established that if you don't have to have minis, they're sort of suggesting minis. You also have their version of opportunity attacks, which they're calling cheap shots. I'm actually not a big fan of opportunity attacks. When they first came up in the rules, I don't know which edition, I really thought like, wow, that's so interesting and tactical, but I flipped 180 degrees on that, but whatever, it's there. All right, extra actions. Your character can also take an extra action, which includes small things like kicking it in. Okay, so that's just your little free action, extra action. Okay, here are your cheap shots, which are opportunity attacks. Okay. So, all right, so it's just an opportunity attack. They don't really address whether you can go into feast mode from an opportunity attack. It would be interesting if you could, or if you were on feast mode, does that count as your next one? I might say, I don't know. I suppose it would be kind of cool if it did, but I could also see that being a pain. All right, here we go. Falling down. Character falls down near battle. Okay, I guess that means that they're not calling it killing or dying. They must use their turn's movement to get back up. Oh, okay, so maybe this is not dying. It literally is falling down. If you attack a character who's on the ground, you will gain advantage. However, missing that attack will cause you to trip and fall down as well. Okay, so there's a little risk-reward. That's interesting. Again, because you're getting basically +5 to attack, but if you miss, you're now down. I don't know if I like that, but I guess it means it almost seems like if you fall down, then it's almost not that bad a spot for you. Now, granted, they get that +5, but it's not as bad like in other games where it's games, and if they miss, they fall down. So if you had really good defense, let's say for whatever reason, would you just go and lay down? And say, you know what, I have my armor class is +5 better, I think, anyway. So if even losing 5, I have a really good armor class, and then I'll bet that they miss, and then they fall down with me, and then, I don't know, it seems like you get up in some weird spots. But okay, interesting. It is an interesting idea. After a hard-fought battle, all right, you get to rest. To regain your health outside of battle, you will need to sit down for a meal. All right, I've seen this in some OSR and other games where you kind of go and eat. And it makes sense in a food-themed game that they would tie healing to eating. let's see. You can opt for a snack, which takes less time if you're in a hurry and need to accomplish a task. After a snack, each member of the party will roll a d6 and regain the number of hit points shown on the die. Okay. To regain all hit points, the party will need to sit down for a meal. The meal will take more time, and depending on character location and other story factors, the GM can have someone attack your vulnerable party. Make sure your group is in a safe place before stopping for a meal. So we kind of have short rest, long rest, but they haven't really said any kind of idea of what the numbers are. Like how long is a snack? How long is a meal? Maybe it's going to be further on, but I would have liked maybe a little bit of guidance on what kind of numbers we're talking about. Because that's one of those things, again, where you could get into endless arguments with players over. But, I was eating a granola bar as a snack, and that's 30 seconds. And, if I eat this beef jerky, I can have the meal in 15 minutes. And then the GM, you're thinking, no, it's an hour and 4 hours. So, whatever. It's just, maybe they'll go into it. Those kind of, I think, where you have these kind of points that could be contentious, I want to have more guidance. But we'll see what they got later on. All right, adventuring. Okay, I'm not going to go into items. Items seem pretty much standard. I'm not sure what clamps are, but you have clamps. Animals. All right, so you have horses, and you can get things like lemonade, strawberry lemonade, a chicken nugget. Interesting. Okay, I do like that. They're basically healing potions, but they're food themed again, which is kind of nice. That's sort of a video game kind of feel, like in, I don't know, Final Fantasy and those kind of games where you're healing items at all kinds of, or I think of, or maybe it's Breath of the Wild with Link, where you're picking up different berries and eating them, and they kind of do different things like heal you up. But that's cool. You can fish. Okay, we got armor. I'm wearing a fresh baked bun. Foil wizard robe. All right, so again, food and food service themed. I like it. Weapons. A straw shot. Nice. So it's basically a blowgun. All right, you got knives, toothpicks, a great fork. Ooh, it's spork. Only 1d6 damage on the spork, but the spatula does 1d10. And frying pan, 1d12. Yeah, that makes sense. Frying pan should do the most damage. Oh, the paring knife also does. The frying pan is heavy, and the paring knife is graceful. Okay. Can you throw it? I like that. I like the can I throw it, and it gives you how long. Though it seems like you want to answer that with yes, comma, whatever, up to this much. But it's just a nice little change on how you read those out. Okay, so here we've got buffs. Buffs. As you've probably discovered, food is a major aspect of Feast of Legends. Yes, I have discovered that. As such, what you're eating in the real world will create direct buffs that affect your character in the game. Each of these buffs will go into effect for the entire duration of play for the day. So you might want to swing by your local Wendy's, dun dun dun, or hit up delivery real quick. All right, that's funny. All right, so you get some, you eat some Wendy's while you're playing. You're gonna get some buffs. That is fun. It's a fun tie-in. I think that's something that'd be awesome. Just, this is Wendy's thing, and they did it, but I could see come up with just a list of generic, things that you find in your local gaming sessions, and adding some buffs and potential debuffs to different things. That would be kind of funny. And they have debuffs. Frozen burger joints. Oh, pizza. Come on, Wendy's. I mean, I know you're trying to push your own stuff, but man, pizza, it's pretty standard gaming night fare. Gas station food. Yeah, that's a -2 to intelligence. Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. And just in life. Snackies, chips and stuff. Come on, chips. All right, but Wendy's stuff is good. Other things, bad. All right, it's cute. Here we go. Orders. Choosing your order will determine what your character's specialties are. All right, do you want to be you want to use magic or be a brawler? Oh, can I be a sophisticated debutante? Yes, you can. Or I can. Or I want to be salt of the earth. Earth salt, level 1. Pick the order that best matches the character you'd like to play. Or just pick your order from the real world. Okay. Order of the chicken. I just thought of Sir Robin from Monty Python with that, but all right. Order of the spicy chicken sandwich. I really like the art. Those who and the graphic design is nice, clean. It's got a little texture, which I'm not. I don't know. When I'm working on my own stuff, as I'm working on now, I kind of go back and forth whether I want page texture or not. Particularly for people who are printing those out potentially at home, somewhere where it costs lots of ink and whatnot, when you just for some kind of light texture. But I think it does for display. Looking at that on a computer, it does have a nice little effect, and the borders are cool. Though again, they might make it hard to print on a kind of home printer. Okay, those who study Order of the Spicy Chicken Sandwich are no strangers to heat. In fact, they thrive in it. Trained in the art of spicy chicken sandwich, these adventurers are one with the hot climates found in parts of the nation of Freshtovia. This connection to heat flows through them. All right, 12 base defense. I really just want to see the skill. Here we go. I just want to see skills by level. But can't use heavy or medium armors, shields, or heavy weapons. All right, so they're kind of a run around, light, nimble, spicy touch. Reaching out and touching an adjacent enemy with the spice left on your fingertips. If the attack hits, it does 1d4 plus 1 heat damage. Casting. Okay, so so they're basically calling it a spell. They don't, and it's interesting because they don't call it a spell anywhere except when you get to that casting, that distance versus casting distance, which they kind of don't need because they've just said you have to reach out and touch. But clearly, this is a spell. Yeah, because it's interesting that. This is one thing. The picture. Are those supposed to be their hands? I thought those were some kind of. Are they called sais? I forget the name for the Chinese or Japanese martial weapons. Forgive me for not remembering which nation invented them and what exactly they're called. But yeah, they're definitely holding them and they're on fire. But that spicy touch seems like you have to touch with your actual hand. Slow heat. A steady heat that slowly wears on your opponents. The enemy must make a strength saving throw of 13 or higher. If the enemy fails the throw, they will take 1 point of heat damage and 1 additional point of heat damage after each of their turns. At level 3, this increases to 3 points of heat damage and 3 additional points of heat damage after each of their turns. Okay. All right, so now, okay, so it's casting distance 90 feet. So we know these are spells, even though they haven't out and out said they're spells, because they call them skills by level, not spells by level. The interesting thing here is it doesn't say when the spell effect ends. The enemy must make so if they miss their initial strength saving throw, and one thing I will say about the strength saving throw that I just thought of that I like, is I've always felt like martial classes should get some kind of bonus against magic, just because I know that the way D&D is now, where every class has a magical type, so it's not so much like it used to be, where there was more of a strict dichotomy between fighters that had absolutely no magic and magic users who were all magic. I always felt that it would be cool if you gave something to fighters, make them more resistant to magical effects, kind of help even the playing field a little bit, particularly later in late game against magic users. And the one interesting thing, by tying their saves for this to their strength, it means that your martial classes are going to have high strength. That means they're more likely to save against magic, whereas unless a magic user type rolls really well, they're not going to be able to invest a bunch of their points in strength, so they're going to be more vulnerable to magic. So that's kind of a neat thing. But back here, so we're back to this. So that one's a 90-foot one. So I guess if you're reading this as written, that if they miss their save, they're just taking damage until they die. I don't know what happens at the end of a combat if you just, like, if you kill the mage, or sorry, the spicy chicken sandwich person, are you just still just on eternal flame? I don't know how that works. All right, smoke screen. A diversion tactic in which a cloud of smoke appears and temporarily blinds your opponents. Choose a point within the casting distance. All characters. All right, so I just want to see what it does. Those who feel the saving throw will have their movement ability reduced by half and be at a disadvantage on all rolls made that turn. Okay, that's cool. I like that little trickery. Oh, and then there's a little bit more. Characters moving into the area must make a saving throw, and characters starting their turn must make an additional saving throw. The spell lasts 3 turns or until a different smoke screen or smoke. So that one actually does tell you how long it lasts, whereas I think the other one really didn't. I don't know if that's purposeful or a mistake. I would probably, again, just pulling from regular D&D, is have the enemies of that slow heat make saves on each of their turns, but it doesn't actually say that, so that's interesting. Level 2, Crunch. Skin hardens to protect you. Okay. True Fire. An orb of flame that surrounds and protects you from outside forces for 3 turns. That's cool. If you succeed on your roll, what is the roll? You'll get +3 to your defense on projectile and magic attacks for 3 turns. But what am I rolling against? Okay, that seems like another maybe omissions. It doesn't really say I have to roll anything, and it's not against someone, so I'm curious when they say if you succeed your roll, what the roll is. Because here you have enemies having to make a saving throw. So that one's another curious omission. Quick Burn. Short blast of hot air. Oh, aka ball of steam into an opponent's face. All right, another distance hit. Does some good damage. Smoke Bomb. An explosive diversionary tactic. All right, there we go. And they do take some damage. And then more of that characters moving in make saves. Okay, level 4. Just gets Flamethrower. Column of Flame. Unending Heat. Another area kind of effect spell. And now we have Order of the Homestyle. Chicken Sandwich. Okay. These guys get medium armor, shields, and projectile weapons. But they still can't use heavy weapons, two-handed weapons, or skilled weapons. Alright, so this is the healthier sandwich. Home is where the hearth is. Out of combat, you can build a warm and comfortable fire. I like that. On an Arcana check of 14 or more. Okay, so that... You protect your group from bandits while sitting down for a meal. Is it just bandits? See, that's one of the things where... It sounds nice, but again, it's one of those things like if I'm a jerky GM, do I go, well, there are no bandits here, but it's full of rats, and the rats are coming. It would have been nice if they said, hey, if you build this fire, you know, you can have your meal and not get disturbed. And it also doesn't say any kind of limits on these. So I guess you can just keep doing them. I guess they call them skills. It's not spells. So there's no limits. So I guess you could just, if you have a order of the homestyle chicken sandwich, you can just, level 1, so right out of the box, you can just build that fire, which kind of negates random encounters, maybe? Assuming you passed your Arcana check. Just take a bite. If a teammate is downed by hunger, which they haven't actually covered yet. I presume that means they're knocked down, but they didn't talk about that unless I totally missed it in the combat or in that sort of overviewish section. But you can kind of raise them up. All right. Add a little flavor to it. You're an inspiration to those around you for the next turn. 2 characters choosing will gain advantage on their attack rolls. All right. This spell takes automatic effect with no rolls required. Okay, so they don't have to. That's nice. Team Crispy. On a can check of 12 or more. You are the source of your team's new thick skin. All teammates within 10 feet of you for the next 3 turns will gain +2 boost to their defense and a resistance to all non-magical damage. Excellent. The one thing I will say is that this does seem to involve some bookkeeping with things on kind of turn-based countdowns. I don't know. I wonder if there would have been some different ways to do that. Maybe it's necessary. But certainly it takes away from some of the simplicity of things when you have a bunch of 3-turn counters that I have juggling around with some of these different skills in effect. Force to be reckoned with. You send out a rally cry reminding your enemies. Okay, on an Arcana check, your entire team gains advantage. All right, so this guy's all about buffing stuff. Unstoppable. Okay, on a successful Arcana check, character of your choosing within range, but they don't say what the range is. Gain the ability to do 2 actions per turn. All right, that's interesting. Impenetrable Dome. Eternal connection to love and family. Magical Dome protection. All right. Grilled chicken sandwich. Refresh. Guide your friends. Oh, wait, so they still can't use heavy or medium armor, so they're back to light armor only. And there seem to be more classic mage style with robes, staves, and light weapons. Okay. All right, you guide your friends to clarity, removing any curses, status effects, or magically caused weaknesses disadvantages. So would that turn off that flame thing? Maybe I would rule that it does. Quick bite. One teammate within range, within casting distance, will regain 1d4 of HP. Okay, some more healing. That one has the casting difference. Casting distance at 30 feet. Let's see. Level 2, take a bite. Teammate is down by hunger. Again, they really haven't talked about that, but I assume that means when they're down to 0 or less hit points. Get them back up to their feet, on their feet. Okay. Large bite. All right, more healing, I'm guessing. Feed the squad. Each teammate will roll and regain 46 HP. Everything is better when you're eating together. Okay. This attack can be used only once between meals. Interesting. So that's the first kind of, I guess, once per long rest type ability that we've seen so far. Let's see, upsized combo. One teammate within casting distance will gain the full effects of sitting down to a meal. They will have fully regained HP and no longer be affected by status elements. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Through exhaustion, any enemy attacking you on the next turn will have advantage. All right, so that one's good, but it's got a fairly steep price attached as far as enemies, if they can get to you. This attack, it's not really an attack. Can only be used once. Okay, so that's another once per long rest type ability. I don't know why they're calling them attacks when it is not at all an attack, since you're clearly casting it on teammates and it's of benefit to them. Asiago Ranch Chicken Club. More refresh. Home is where the hearth is. We've seen that. Team Crispy. We've seen that. Quick burn. Yep, we've seen that. Feed the squad. We've seen that. Flamethrower. We've seen that. Level 5, you can choose any skill from the order of the spicy chicken sandwich. Okay, so any of the order ones to be your level 5. Okay, that's cool. All right, chicken nuggets. We'll have more light weapons. So I feel like I'm already running low on time, so I'm kind of going to just sprint through some of these grab and go. It's a passive. You do not have to use an action to break out. That's nice. Late night craving is another passive when attacking. At nighttime, he will gain advantage. All right. That's pretty powerful if you're running around at night. The 4-piece assault. All right, using your grace and speed. So obviously those you want to try to max those up for your grace. Let's see, 4 quick strikes. Delivery. Make an Arcana check. Ooh, say on the board, but they haven't talked about that. But okay, 90 feet of the point you are on now. So you basically get a little teleport. Snack time and 3 attack rolls. Final bite. If you are currently undetected by an enemy in direct combat with a teammate, you perform the ultimate sneak attack, proving their eyes were truly bigger than their stomachs. On a successful attack roll, you do a bunch. All right, so that's their version of sneak attack. You know, again, you end up in the gray area of what does it mean to be undetected. I guess a lot of this you just have to leave up to kind of GMs and tables to figure out, because I'm wondering, I mean, there's still a lot of rules here, and I'm already running out of time. I'm only on page 15. I don't know how much of this will be in the DM guidance. I might have to come back and do a part 2 later on to look at that, but that's what we got so far. All right, now we're in beef, which is clearly their fighter type class. The Baconator. They can't use light armor, staves, items granting magical skills, or projectile weapons. So this is interesting. So they've taken this, and if you go Baconator, you are a melee class. They haven't even given you an option to be a ranged fighter type. So that's an interesting concept. You can't even use light armor if you want to. You got to use medium, heavy, and heavy weapons. Well, I guess you don't have to use heavy weapons, but you can't use projectile weapons at all. Late night craving. All right, we saw that one already. Fresh, never frozen. You have resistance to all cold damage. All right. 2 beef patties. Another passive. You can dual wield any weapon that doesn't require 2 hands. That's nice. Make it a double. You're allowed to perform 2 actions per turn. That's also nice. Applewood smoke bomb. All right, that seems to be the same as the other one. The text is the same. It seems like you're just making a big cloud of smoke. And that says casting distance. Interesting that they call it casting distance, even though they have not referred to any of these as spells in any of the descriptions. Undefeated on a successful strength level 14. Let's see. You take 0 damage throughout the next turn. Wow, that's nice. You cannot use this on a turn with other actions. So I guess you have to kind of do that. You basically do. I assume that means you do nothing but that on your turn, and then throughout the next turn. Yeah, this is where you get into that. Okay, so your turn versus the round. So what does that mean throughout the next turn? I think they mean maybe from. I would assume from the end of that round, that turn you just used to activate it, to the beginning of your next turn. That might they mean, but it's not exactly worded super clearly. 6 strips of bacon on a successful attack roll. Make 6 concurrent attacks. All right. Junior bacon cheeseburger. Medium, heavy. Okay, they can use crossbows. All right, combo buddies. If at any point a teammate is within 10 feet of you, both you and the teammate get +1 on strength saving rolls. Okay. Fresh, never frozen. We saw that. Clap back. If you are successfully attacked by more than one enemy in a single turn, you will clap back at each enemy after the first. They will take 1d4 of physical damage each in retaliation. All right, that's kind of cool. You got a little free counterattack. If you're being worked by more than one monster, enemy. Bring it. On a charm check of 13 or higher, all enemy attacks this turn will be drawn to you. All right, that's interesting. So I can see how you can kind of use those two things in conjunction with each other. If you've got you got a bunch of guys on you, then you get those little clapbacks. So maybe, oops. What did I do? So you maybe, do the bring it, use the clapback, though of course, you can use heavy armor, so you could be pretty well protected. Okay. Level 5, Ultimate Snack Down. It's time to lay it the snacketh down on some jabronis. All right, so a very heavy WWE Rock reference. All enemies currently in adjacent squares to you. All right, so that's another thing. If you've used that bring it and it's worked. Oh, I forgot plan. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Plus up combo. You hold your turn until a successful attack from a teammate. Add an additional 1d6 physical damage to their attack, making it the perfect combo. But if they don't use it, you don't get anything back. Okay. Then the ultimate snack down. Take a bunch of damage. All right, so you pull them in, and then you can basically whip around, kind of whirlwind style, take them all out. Order of the Daves double. All right. Fresh, never frozen. 2 beef patties. Make it a double. These are all we've seen before. Classic double. If your attack knocks an opponent out, you immediately gain an extra action. I assume that means that they're not on their backs, just on the ground, but actually, aka killed. But we're not using that, but they're actually out of combat. Level 4, Beefy Boy. On a charm check of 14 or higher, all members of the party who have chosen the order of the beef will gain a +2 to their defense. Okay. Does that complete your order? When an opponent has less than 25% of their health, they will become completely full and pass out on a successful strength roll of 16 or higher. This attack can only be used once in between meals. All right. See, now this is one. Like, what's the range on that? Is it just line of sight? Granted, it's a level 5 ability, so I guess this is the top where we're topping out. But still, it seems, again, it's some of these, they have ranges where it's obvious. You touch a teammate, this happens, and they say range touch. Okay, I kind of had that. And the other ones, like this, there's no range, which seems to indicate that just anybody. In fact, it doesn't even say they have to see you. So it's odd. It's a little odd. Okay, order a double stack. All right, a lot of these are the same. Combo Buddy is the same. Late Night Craving is the same. Plus up combo is the same. Double stack down. All right, that's already the same. So we've seen that. Order of the Sides. All right, so this one seems back. We're more of a caster class. Little Spoon. Any number of enemies within 20 feet of you must make an Arcana check. Charm. 2 spoons. Oh, charm was an ability. There's another weird one because you have the charms. This is where it gets a little bit confusing when you have your tribute names the same as abilities. But they are getting a +1 to their charm. But I would have maybe given that a different name, even if it's just a riff on charm or something added like charming, just to give it a little bit of difference from charm so you don't confuse them. 2 spoons on the successful Arcana roll, 14 or higher. You create a mirage that will draw the attacks of your enemies on their next turn, so you can break out from combat. Okay, undetected. All right. Sweet surprise. Choose a teammate. Make a roll. All damage they take on the enemy's next turn will actually be applied as healing. That's cool. Big spoon. Enemies within 60 feet must make a save or feel a sense of great friendship towards you. All right, it's like a charming. Here we go. A nice deep breath. The enemy is frozen in time for the next turn. Cool. French fries. The frosty dip. If you're within 10 feet of someone who has chosen the order of the frosty, you both gain advantage. That's cool. Grab and go. You do not have to use an action to break out. Okay, we've seen that one. A quick bite. Snack time. Plus a combo. Here we go. Bottom of the bag. You reach deep inside. It's often said what's left at the bottom of the bag is the best bite. Each fry inspires your salty fury. A successful attack roll will result in a whole bunch of damage. Okay. This attack can be... Okay, that's another once per long rest. Baconator fries. Whew, grab and go. Snack time. I kind of just want to go skip to the level 5. Totally Baconator. You're about to go full Baconator. You never go full Baconator. All right, a good reference to a movie that maybe a lot of people don't even remember, Tropic Thunder. The enemy is overcome with the cheesy, meaty essence in your attack. On a successful roll or strength roll of 15 or higher, all enemies within 15 feet will take 48 physical damage. That's nice. And once per long rest. Order the chili. Whew. All right. True classic. Been around. La la la. Quick bite. All right. I'm just going to skip to, let's see, slow simmer. Oh, wait. Force to be reckoned with seems like it's a new one. Actually, this one seems like it has a few new ones. Combo buddies. That one we've seen. Little spoon we've seen. Chili seasoning. A packet of spice blasts the opponent, leaving them hot and sweaty. If the attack hits, it will do 1d12 plus 2 heat damage. Okay, but there's no range, so I'm guessing maybe that means you got to be right up there. I don't know. All right. Force to be reckoned with. You send out a rally cry. You are no joke. You are forced to be reckoned with. Make an Arcana check. Entire team gains advantage on attack rolls for the next 3 turns and +4. All right, so it's like a nice group boost. Slow simmer. And you're choosing will start to feel the slow simmering heat of your power. This turn they'll take 1d4 magical damage. Next turn 1d6. Okay. On the final turn, roll a percentile using a 10-sided die. That's the first time they mentioned percentile rolls. Roll a 10-sided die and use 1 to represent the first digit, 1 to represent the second, and do this much magical damage. Wow, that's big, but of course you could roll like 2. But yeah, that's a huge big swinging amount of damage, which is cool. Interesting, they didn't just have you roll like every d4 that you have or something instead of pulling out another die type. But yeah, it's cool. Oh my gosh, baked potato. All right, I got 20 minutes here. How much can I get through in the next 20 minutes? All right. Skills by level. Hardy, fulfillment. I'm just going to read the names here. Root of the problem. A warm bite. Twice baked. Okay, plus up we've seen. Fully loaded. I want to just read these capstones. I think are the most interesting ones to read. A character of your choosing will gain advantage on all rolls. +2 to each stat. All right. Another once per long rest meal. All right, here we go. Oh, I guess that's all of them. Whew. Okay. Quick start. So here we have an example. I'm not going to go through since I've pretty much been going there. Here's your character sheet. Beast of Legends, name, order. So order is definitely your class, which means that them talking about classes earlier on is something that someone should have gone through and fixed to order everywhere. I wonder if they will put out an amended copy at some point if they get enough feedback on that, or maybe they just don't care because it is just a kind of a promo thing. Resistance, weakness, advantage, disadvantage. They haven't really talked about how you get those yet. And here's one's filled out. Oh, you can add the name, their order of the double stack. Got a little bio. Got their order skills, but man, you can't write. No one's handwriting. Well, I'm sure there's some handwriting that's that small, but how are you going to fit 5 levels in that order skills? Yeah, that's way too small. Yeah. All right, but they give you a bunch. Okay, some nice art. All right, so this is a good place to end it. So I'm going to cut this off here because I got other things to do right now. I got to go. It probably will be a few days before I get back to this to do the next part of this, which I will go through the Game Masters part of the guide because I definitely am interested in it. So we will check that out. But if you were following this live, thanks. If you find this on YouTube, which I'll try to get up maybe later today, let me know what you think, and I will talk to you later.